everyone, and welcome to the Waffle Flower channel. Channin here, and today I'm going to be using the Lacy Layers 5x7 die, the Lacy Flower Matte dies, the Lacy Flower Dies right there. I'm going to use that largest flower there. The Little Mermaids stamp set, I'm going to use some words from that set, and the magical word die today. I'm going to focus on intricate die cutting today in my video. I'm going to show you some of my tips, and I'm also going to show you all the dryer sheet cheat, which is really great for getting your die cuts out cleanly. I'm going to be using some glitter paper today. I'm going to be cutting this lacy flower out of this glitter paper. But first I'm going to make my dryer sheet pack before I do any of my die cutting. I'm just using some unscented dryer sheets, just some cheap dryer sheets. They do not have to be the name brand. And I'm going to pull out 4 dryer sheets to make my pack. So I've got the 4 out, and now I'm going to unfold them and stack each of the sheets on top of the other. So I'll have all 4 stacked up on top. And once I have all of these 4 sheets stacked on top, I'm going to fold them in half. So this actually creates an 8-ply pack. And that seems to be the standard. I did not come up with this technique. It's been out there for a while, but it's still relatively new to me, and I really liked it, so I wanted to share it with you guys today. So depending on your die cutting machine, you might use less dryer sheets, but 4 seems to be the standard. 4 and then fold it in half, making 8-ply. Okay, so now I'm going to take this intricate die, and I'm going to die cut it in my die cutting machine, just like you normally would. Sandwich it between the 2 plates and run it through. Now, I have had a problem with intricate dies in the past as well, and I know by reading a lot of the comments, some other people have had problems too. So I'm just going to share some of the tips that I've learned over the years working with my machines, and I hope this will help you. So everybody's machine is going to be a little bit different, even if it's the same brand. So you're going to have to learn your machines, and there's a lot of variables that can affect your die cutting, as well as the plates and the thickness of your paper. I find if I have a hard time, I will often run it through several times. I'll also turn it like you just saw me do there, and then I'll run it through. I will turn it several different angles and run it through, and that helps sometimes if I have a hard time cutting all the way through the paper. I also have purchased a metal shim. They're not very expensive. I found with my Cuttlebug, I really need that metal shim to do any intricate die cuts whatsoever. So you're going to have to learn your machines and experiment, especially if you have a die that's giving you some troubles. But try some of those techniques. And I have found, I know some people use cardboard shims or paper shims, and I have found those just not to work for me. So if you're having some troubles, you might want to invest in a metal shim as well. And they're not expensive. They're like $10. You can find them on Amazon. Okay, so this is, I went ahead and cut through, but you can see all my little negative pieces are still stuck inside that die cut. So now I'm going to show you the dryer sheet, and this is going to be great for getting out all those little negative pieces of paper with no fuss, with no poking it with the pin tool. So I just line my die cut right back up inside my die, and now I've got that dryer sheet pack. I put the die and the paper right on top of that dryer sheet pack, and I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine. And the dryer sheets are very, once you press it through, they're very like sticky almost, and all that paper is going to stick onto that dryer sheet and come cleanly out of the die. So if you have any dies where your paper gets stuck up inside the die and you have a hard time popping it out, the dryer sheet is really great for those kind of dies. I haven't had a problem with this Lacy Layer die, but I have some other dies that this dryer sheet has saved me. So you can see the paper die cut is stuck onto that dryer sheet. The die is completely clean, and now all I'm going to do is peel up my die cut, and it comes off cleanly. I had no tears. It really is amazing, and it's quite a time saver. So really great tip, this dryer sheet cheat. And see, there's my die cut completely clean. Really amazing. Okay, and I also wanted to show you guys that you can reuse these sheets over and over and over again. I still have the other half, obviously, but also I can turn it over and use the back side, and you can even open it up and use the inside as well. And you can use the parts that you've already die cut over too. You just need to make sure you remove that paper. You don't want to leave any of those paper negative pieces in there when you die cut over on top of that space. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to my card. So I have a piece of color cardstock. I just cut the 8.5 by 11 sheet down to right in half at 5.5, and I am now going to do some ink blending. I'm going to blend gradation circles, 3 of them on this colored paper, and I've chosen an ink that is similar in tone to the paper that I'm using, but just darker. And when I mean gradation, I'm going to have the center dark, and then it's going to get lighter and lighter as I work out to my outermost ring of my circle. And I'm going to do 3 of these. And when I do this, I'm starting in the center and I'm doing circular motions outward to the outer edges. And I will also sometimes start in the center and then work out to the outside edges with just single strokes instead of a circular motion. But both work. It just depends on kind of the angle. I seem to get more ink on there if I do strokes out, and I get less ink when I start with the circular. So I always start with circular, and then I will often end up trying to get some darker shades by doing strokes out. The nice thing about this is you don't have to do perfection. Luckily, the die cuts are going to cover up a lot of your flaws. So if you have any flaws in your ink blending, this design is very forgiving, and your die cuts will cover up a lot of your mistakes. So I went ahead and did a pink one too, because I'm going to show you 2 cards today. It's basically the same design, but slightly different twist. Okay, so here are 3 of the Lacy Flower die cuts that I did out of the glitter, and now I'm going to adhere them onto my ink blended panel. I'm just using, this is a Quiller's bottle that I filled with I filled with Mod Podge matte, and I'm just going around the edges and the inside and just applying the adhesive. Now, there are lots of ways to get adhesive on intricate dies that are less fussy than this, but I found this worked the best for me. I tried spray adhesive and also running the die cut through a sticker machine, and both of those created a lot of adhesive webbing. So I had a lot of excess adhesive on my die and just wasn't very pretty. And I even tried using like a sticky back adhesive, and I had troubles die cutting my paper with that sticky back adhesive. So for me, this worked the best. But really, if any of those other techniques have worked well for you in the past, you could definitely do that instead. I know this can be kind of fussy for a lot of other people. So I just went ahead and cut and did all 3, and I cut that out to save some time. I went ahead and glued all 3 over those gradation circles that I blended. And now I'm going to cut down this panel to a 5x7 panel using the Lacy Layers 5x7 dies. I'm using the largest die in that set. And this die is really awesome. I have to trim that little lacy flower there because it's a little too big to fit in my die cutting machine. I really love this die set because, one, it makes A7 cards, which is what I like to make, and also it adds the stitching around the edges, which is really nice. It just really gives a polished look to these card designs, I think. Okay, so I just ran it through, and I'll show you the finished panel there, so you can see the stitching around the edges. Really nice. Okay, so now I'm going to work on my second design. I'm not quite done with that first one, but we'll finish both of them up together at the end. Okay, so moving on to my second design, now I'm going to die cut directly into my panel, my ink blended panel with the Lacy Flowers die. The last card I did, or last panel I did, I glitter die cuts of the lacy flower right on top of my panel. So this one I'm doing a little different. I'm actually taking that lacy flower and die cutting right into my panel. And now I'm showing you again the dryer sheet technique. Since I'm using that lacy flower again, I'm going to use the dryer sheet to just get that dye out very cleanly without a lot of trouble. I'm just going to peel it off. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut two more of the lacy flowers from this panel, and I'm going to cut to that real quick, and then I'll show you the next part. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So there's all 3 of the flowers cut from the paper, and now I'm going to adhere my colored cardstock onto just a piece of white cardstock. This is just going to make it easier for me, or basically a backing for me to adhere my glitter flower mats that I will show you in a minute here. And yes, I am using a glue stick. If you have a tape adhesive, that would be much better for this. I just ran out, so today I'm using my glue stick again, doing it old school again. Okay, so just putting that glue all over, and then I'll stick this down. I'm just going to line it up. And again, this is just a 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock cut in half. And I will eventually trim it down to a 5 by 7 panel. Just clean up any of the glue that I got on the edges. And then, so now I'm going to show you, I went ahead and die cut 3 lacy flower mats out of the same glitter paper. This corresponding die set is really awesome because it works perfectly with the lacy flowers, and it really allows you to get more out of your lacy flower dies. So it's a really great matching die set to have with that lacy flower die, because it fits right in. See, I cut those lacy flowers out with the lacy flower die, and the mat fits perfectly inside. So really awesome. So I went ahead and glued all those glitter matte flowers down inside my panel, and now I'm going to take my lacy flower die cuts and I'm going to glue them on top. And again, I'm going to use my little Quiller's bottle filled with Mod Podge matte. And the reason why I'm using the matte is because if I do get any going outside of the die cut and exposed, if I get any glue exposed, it dries matte and you don't see it. So as opposed to glossy drying adhesives. Okay, so I went ahead, after I glued all the flowers down, I went ahead and die cut this just like I did on my other panel with the Lacy Layers 5 by 7 die. And I had some sticking. I should have ran it through a couple of times, so I just went and trimmed some of the parts that stuck with my scissors. And there's my panel all out, both my panels actually out clean. Okay, so now we're going to move on to creating a dimensional sentiment. Now there's a couple ways to do this. I've shown the foam way before, so I'm using this magical word die today, and I cut it out of glitter paper, and then I cut 3 other magical words out of white cardstock. And now I'm going to stack them up and glue them together. So I'm going to glue them and then stack, glue and then stack. And so I'll have 4 layers with the glitter magical word at the very top. So I'm just lining it up here using my fingers on the edges to kind of squeeze and get the words perfectly lined up. I wanted to show this to you guys because there are 2 ways to do dimensional sentiments or dimensional words. One is the craft foam, which I have done already in the past. You just run the die through your machine with the craft foam and it cuts it. Also, you can do it, if you don't have craft foam, you can also do it just by layering your paper. So I wanted to show that to you guys as well. Okay, so there's my magical word die. Now I'm going to pull out a couple words. Have a day from the Little Mermaids stamp set. So it'll eventually say have a magical day. And I'm going to stamp have a day with the same ink that I blended with earlier on my colored cardstock. So I'm just centering that, using that magical word to help me kind of line everything up and get everything in the right spot. So I make sure I save enough space and then just fold it over, and now I'm going to stamp it. I also use that great acetate that I made earlier. I made a last video just to help to make sure everything's all straight. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this just a couple times to make it nice and dark, and that's it. And so I went ahead and stamped the lavender one. It's kind of like a blue purple. And now I'm going to adhere my panel onto my card base. And again, this is a A7 card, which means it's 5 by 7 when it's folded. So before I folded it, it was a 10 by 7 rectangle that I folded in half. And now I'm just adhering my panel right on top with the glue stick again, because I ran out of my tape runner, which is better for adhering panels. And just cleaning up a little bit here, and now I'm going to go ahead and adhere the other panel to my card. I'm just going to kind of cut that out because it's the same thing I just did. So I'll cut that, and then I'll show you adhering the dimensional magical onto there. So I'm going to adhere that again with the liquid adhesive. And also, as I forgot to mention before, when you do stack up your papers, so when you stack, like when I stacked up this magical word, I use that liquid adhesive, and you definitely want to use something like that when you're stacking up a sentiment to make a dimensional word, because that liquid adhesive has a little bit longer window to dry, and it'll allow you to kind of move that word around and get it lined up. So that's definitely one point where you want to use a liquid adhesive. Okay, so I want to show you, this is a great tip. You can use some, this is a, here it is, enamel accents. This is by Rangers, but if you have any dimensional kind of like faux enamel dots will work. I just used it to make the dot for the magical instead of bothering to save the paper, which by the way was really teeny tiny, and there's no way I was going to be able to save that. And to avoid having to stack that teeny tiny die, these enamel accents work great for adding a dimensional dot, you know, like for an exclamation point or an eye. Really great. Okay, so all I did, I'm now doing the sequence. These are just clear sequence, and I'm just squeezing a little bit more of that Mod Podge onto, I'm just doing a couple on each of the flowers, the Lacy flowers, and that's pretty much it. And there you go, you can see that just a little bit more sparkle in addition to all that beautiful glitter paper. And there, so there you can see two different takes on basically the same design. So one where the Lacy flower is laid right on top, and the next one where it's there's glitter kind of underneath. It's almost like it's all one panel almost. And here's two other ones that I made. Same thing. The green is like the pink, where the glitter paper is underneath the Lacy flower, and the purple is like the lavender one or the blue one, where the Lacy flower is just put on top. Okay, that's it, guys. Thanks for joining me today, and if you want any more product info, please visit waffleflower.com, and you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more creative ideas. Thank you guys for staying with me for this long video. I hope you enjoyed.